Hey, what's up? It's Nicole Brewster, also known as Coco. Thank you for tapping into the Elevate Him podcast, where we have tons of topics on how to support our men. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nicole Brewster here, also known as Coco. Thanks for tapping into the Elevate Him podcast. We got a lot of things going on tonight, a lot of conversation. Tonight's guest is Eoj Johnson, and we were going to have another guest with us because we just had like this major flow, and I got a chance to meet her as well. Sherry, I don't remember her last name.
Perryman.
So she was going to be here tonight, but she's not feeling well, So we are going to just hope when she feels better, she gets on here with us, and we have a good conversation with her as well. She's very informative, and it was just really cool to meet her, so it'll be really awesome to have her join. I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight because as I was just super focused over the weekend, it just kind of dawned on me that there's this saying that a lot of us know, numbers don't lie, right? So we know numbers don't lie. They do change, but they don't lie. And so for me, I'm kind of like the person that I want to do my research. I love the fact that we can have conversations and they're very just open, and we can just, share our own opinions. But at the end of the day, I think we need a little bit of facts here. So then we have the numbers to kind of generate more of our conversation. So tonight, I want to kind of bring that up, that we have some actual statistics here. So just real quick, I'm going to go over just a few of the stats, and which is crazy. These are all geared around men. So if men may not even know that these numbers exist, which is kind of crazy. Right, but they're going to know today. Mm-hmm. So starting off, one of my biggest things, as you guys know, is suicide. I am a suicide prevention advocate. I host a suicide bereavement support group. I'm on the Suicide Prevention Council of Washington County. I just want to know as much as I possibly can, because Elevate Him really wants to tap into that and eliminate suicide in men across the whole nation. Like just this week, I don't know if you saw any of my posts on any of my social media, but just this week there was two actors, Regina King and another guy named Michael something, and then Chris Daughtry from like the American Idol, his stepdaughter. They were the ages of 26 and 25. Two of the men were 26, and they died from suicide this last week. And it was just like, that's just what we know in the celebrity limelight, right? That's just 3 in a week. Doesn't seem like a lot, but just imagine what goes on in a day across the country, friends, family, coworkers. It's big numbers. So I'm going to just read off a couple things here. So 76% of suicides are men, which is 4 out of 5 deaths. 85% of homeless are men. 9% are veterans. 70% homicide victims are men. 64% of men serve longer sentences than women, even if the same crime exists. Men are 3 times more likely to be imprisoned than a woman committing the same crime. Men are viewed as weak when expressing emotions or traumas. Men die 6 years younger than women. 78% of men serve in the active military. 95% of work deaths are men. 73% of men misuse drugs and alcohol. 16%, now this is kind of a low one, and it's not really a negative. The 16% of men will win custody of their children. So very interesting. That's like all these, bad things, and the one good thing that they got going for them, getting the kids, 16%.
Wow.
1 out of every 6 men are sexually abused. 1 out of 4 men have been physically abused or stalked by an intimate partner. Male youth dropouts are 3 times higher than girls. So that's just a few things that I was just digging up, because I had to put together for my business, a business plan to really promote what my goals are, short-term, long-term, what ideas I have moving forward with the business, how I can grow as a business, you know, and just like our mission and vision and what we're out here trying to do and impact. Those were just like minor, like little things that I just dug up.
Little things.
So, but, you know, I'm saying
Yeah.
like it was just crazy that was just men alone. And what's really baffling is that when I share about Elevate Him, people are like, wow, that's so cool. Like, it's so needed. And it's like, these numbers have been around way longer than Elevate Him. And so it's sad that nothing like this has been done. It's sad to know that the resources have been limited to men. A lot of women have acknowledged that there's not as much out there for men specifically. Now, you can go to a DHS office, or you can go to, you know, some type of family, you know, assistance program. That's for both.
Right.
But to have something specifically for men, for mental health, economic stability, all that stuff, it's not there. They have to try to dig for it. So
Why? Why do you think that is?
Man.
I'm just curious. Why? I know you have an inkling of an idea, being that you know, got this organization up and running. So why do you think that is? I'm just curious.
I have a lot of
Theories.
reasons, because I feel like there is a system that was designed, and the way that they have it designed is not so much to have men fail, but there's such an expectation that men should be a certain thing. They should have certain things. They should be at a certain place. And so a lot of people would kind of generate and say, well, men are good. They don't got no worries. They're strong. They're tough. They get through it. You know, they bounce back, whatever. And because you guys don't share as much information, it's really hard to work with that. So if you're not saying nothing, nothing's going to get done.
That is correct. I don't think that a lot of men feel comfortable saying things, you know, speaking their emotions, talking about them or anything like that, just because, you know, society says if you share your emotions as a man, you're deemed weak. You're lesser than a man, you know.
But we're in 2022.
Yeah, but
Do you think we can really open that can and really start to see some change? Because a lot of men, we got podcasts, we got social media, we got different platforms that we all use. And I see men all day long showing their workout videos, doing, you know, Instagram, you know, videos. You got men who are on there talking about relationships. Men are doing podcasts. Like, so there's a lot of, you know, ability to really start opening up so we can provide what you need. So I think what needs to happen is we just got to listen to the conversations that men are having. We got to be present in that. But really quick, I also want to introduce you, you know, so we need to know who you are. We need to know your background and what brings you here. And I'm very thankful that you are here, because we got a chance to meet through another amazing nonprofit, or actually I think they're profit, but we got together with a group of different people, business and nonprofit, and we came across each other there, and it was just like awesome conversation. We just totally clicked. And I love what you're doing. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with the guests who you are.
Sure. My name is Eoj Johnson, and I am the operations manager of Miracles Club. I do a variety of different things. I just recently got with the Miracles Club about maybe 8 months ago. Before then, I was working for Central City Concern, Golden West HRR program, Housing Rapid Respawn. And what I was doing there, and it's kind of like what I'm doing here, except just a little bit different. And I'll get into the details of that. But what I was doing at the HRR program was getting individuals off the street that were struggling with chronic homelessness, addiction and criminality, things of that nature, and trying to reinstill and reinvest in those individuals, letting them know that they are somebody. These are people that are sleeping in doorways, and people would just walk by them, you know, because of the way that they're looking. They're unfortunate situations. So we would kind of let them know that they're just as human as we are, and more human than some of us in suits, you know. Now, for the current company that I represent, which is the Miracles Club, I wear a lot of different hats. One of the hats I wear is I am a supervisor over some of the mentors there, who deal with people that are struggling with addiction. We have a recovery house, and it houses 8 men and 1 house manager. I think March 1st we'll have the same for women, and that'll be 6 women.
Awesome.
And they need to be grounded in their recovery. We don't just kick you out if you make a mistake. But if you're actively engaged in recovery, we support you all the way around. The services that we provide, getting, like, if you don't have a birth certificate or maybe ID, we help you out with that. We help you get grounded with a job. Just kind of get on your feet. It's rent-free. We want to do that. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's one of the most awesome organizations that I've ever worked for. Awesome. It's culture-specific, but all the services aren't delegated to culture-specific ordeals. We got various different nationalities come in during the meetings. We have a meeting every day from 12 o'clock to 1:30 every day, Monday, Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday, all the way through, every day. And just try to help people stay focused and actively chase their recovery like they once did their addiction. So perfect. That's basically what we stand for there. Awesome. Just to shed a little bit of light on where I come from, because it would seem like somebody in the position I'm currently in, it's like, it is what it is. He went to school, he did this. I went to school, all right, school of hard knocks. Right. And if y'all familiar with that term, field trip, I took a field trip, 16-and-a-half-year field trip. I went into the penitentiary setting when I was 22 years old, 1995. Got out at 38 in 2012, May 1st. I got that date, verbatim.
Right, that's locked in.
Yeah. Initially, I was supposed to do 44 to 2044, I think, on parole after they released me after doing 16 and a half. Wow. But they chopped it down to 2026, which means what? Then I'm still, inactively on parole. The sky's the limit. People say what they can't do, but you don't know what you can do unless you continue to try to be better. Right. So, that's just a little history of me. I don't come from no squeaky background where everything was prestiged, from the gutter. So,
right. So, being that you have that background, you are very informative. You have a lot of insight, the do's, the don'ts you've learned. Did that kind of trigger you into doing what you do now to actively help people? Or has that just always been something in your nature from jump? But now that you've experienced a little bit of toughness and you went through that, is that what kind of brought you to helping community service, volunteering, being available to the community now?
Partially responsible for it. Even before, I tapped all the way into the lifestyles that wasn't conducive to my growth and development in a positive light. I still was going out on a limb to try to help people to the best of my knowledge. But once I gained a little bit more insight on what direction I wanted my life to take, I started investing a little bit more in that. What sent me all the way over the hill to have both feet on one side of the fence in a positive light was 6 months after I got released. I had lost my oldest son. Once I did that, I lost him to drugs and to the gang life. Once I did that, I had a decision to make. Right. I had people calling my folks from the penitentiary, tell him to write me, tell him to get a hold of my counselor. I know he's on his way back, fast track. I mean, they had my sense of direction pegged for me. Right. Once I started hearing that, deny defeat at all costs, I started adopting and gravitating more towards, what could I do to reverse my feelings? I had a decision to make. Do I avenge his death? Right. Or do I, help try to prevent people. Help try to prevent people and people's parents from feeling the way that I felt about my child and theirs. Right. I could have easily said, and now don't get it twisted, for 3 weeks I was on the fence. I was on the fence of allowing myself to be fast-tracked back to a situation that I fought so hard to get out of. But God, absolutely. He speaks to messengers. He sent so many people to me, and a sense of direction started to manifest itself in my life. And I was like, you know what, let me just sit back and regroup. I didn't sleep for a few days, more than that, but, but when I did finally sleep and woke up, I kept telling myself, nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. And I could only dream during my part of incarceration to get out here and do something positive for people. Right. But I wasn't acting on it. So I guess that was God's way of saying.
You had an opportunity, right?
Yeah, move now. So that's what pushed me into the duties of wanting to be of service to other individuals.
Right. And I think for even like my situation when, I've talked about this several times on the podcast, on my social media, there's a level of, pain that we go through. And of course, everybody's situation's different. I have never experienced, that close of a person in my life. My brother and I were like the yin and the yang. We were very close, and to lose him to suicide, I don't have closure. And so I could have went down a rabbit hole myself emotionally. I could have taken myself out because of the pain. I could have, got into drugs and alcohol to numb myself. All these things that were negative could have, came to me. And, I did have some depression there for a while. Of course, it was hard. It was hard to understand, why would somebody do that? He was so this, he was so that, he was so great to be around, and all these positive things. And I didn't see it, and so, he never wrote to me like he wrote to everybody else, but he was angry at everybody else. And so I don't know if maybe, I think my heart just wants to be like, all right, if he would have wrote you, he wouldn't have done it, and he, so I'm trying to like find the reason behind everything. But what I'm about to say is like that pain, you have to figure out the power in that, and you have to fight through that. You have to heal through that. So again, I always use the term, turn my power into pain.
That's right.
And that's what helped me, even when I was writing down the ideas of Elevate Him. It wasn't supposed to be suits. It was supposed to be just all types of clothes. But then I had to start narrowing down that dream. I had to start narrowing it down because I wanted to start it now. I didn't want it to be just hokey pokey. I wanted it to be specifically to help men feel confident, because the confidence is a huge factor in our mental, and so on and so forth. So again, we have to go through some of those things, and it does amazing things. It's like the tragedies that we go through really turn into something beautiful.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you not going down that path, correcting yourself, catching it soon. Even though you're hurting, you still probably hurt. It's never going to go away. But, we right now have a crisis in our own town. Like, this is Portland, Oregon, and everybody knows
that is correct. Right
now things are going a little crazy in the street with these kids, and it's sad because it's like it's one thing and another thing and another thing, and retaliation, and everything's are just happening, and these are parents who are losing them, burying their babies. And so what do you think, I know it's going to be like a very broad, answer, but what do you think that we can start kind of enabling and kind of pulling together so we can, work this situation out with the kids?
Well, one thing that I think is extremely important, you have a lot of the fathers that have been stole from the environment. This is not just due to gentrification, but I mean, whatever hardship they experienced, they weren't knowledgeable enough or didn't have the tools to be able to deal with it in an appropriate manner. So one thing I think that's important for everybody to pay attention to is to connect or reunite the children with their fathers. Even if their fathers are in the penitentiary, figure out a way. Not one time did nobody brought my children to see me. I'm pretty sure my mom would, if if
it was given, right? It would have been there.
If the opportunity existed, that didn't happen. And that's what I fought so hard to get out here too, is my children, so I could finally have a part of their, growing, their childhood rearing. Right. I didn't have that. I know that fathers, because I was one of them in that situation, if I would have gotten a visit from my children, I wouldn't have went in there as bitter. I would have fought harder to get out sooner. I would have been more level-headed because I know that my son knows me, my daughter knows me, things of that nature.
Right.
So I think the children feel that pain too, and people push their pain aside just to focus on personal prosperity. What do you think the children want? What do you think that they're deprived of? That there has to be some type of void in their life, and I think that that's part of it.
Oh, for sure. And when you look at you're right on with the whole father situation, because I know so many times I've had conversations with many of different people, and it always kind of goes back into that. And it happens for various reasons. Maybe there's an angry, mom, the family's not supportive, whatever. And so what happens is a lot of men who really are wanting to be good fathers, they're not allowed that opportunity.
That is correct.
And then it's like, where do you put the bridge together to make that to work? Because these kids are growing up thinking, oh, my dad didn't care, he didn't love me, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So guess what? I'm going to find the next thing that's going to love me, that's going to take me in, that's going to lock me down, that's going to have my back, all these things, and it's the streets. Because the streets are now promising the same type of dream that you should be getting from your parents.
Yeah, that it just doesn't work because your homeboys are in a like situations. So you're thinking you're getting that love from them, but their father's locked up or deceased from gang violence or whatever has transpired. It's not in their lives, actively engaged or involved. Maybe drugs took a hold of him. He's imprisoned by his vices or whatever. So these homeboys of yours, they coming up and they pressing up on you, man, I got your back. Yeah, they doing something that, maybe you would like for your father to do with you, but different scenario. And you don't want them out there shooting with you, other people, but you want them to spend, you're bonding.
You're bonding, you're having time together, you got each other. Right. I'm looking after you, like that type of stuff.
And I know you'll have my back because I got yours. You need a kick, I got you. It doesn't matter what that lifestyle produced, how they came about the money, how they came about what they now know is to be love, normalizing the BS, you know what I mean? But I think, if you plant a strong enough seed in some of the minds of these younger leaders, our younger generation, I think that it could spread like wildfire, like everything else. There's a lot of advertisement for BS. So if we advertise positivity, glorify positivity as much as we do negativity, I think we have a fighting chance on reversing the curse. We may have not started this, but we don't have to wear those suits of being, gravitating toward idiocy or gravitating toward, negative things and then say, this is the going way. If you're not like this, then you're just shunned. You're frowned down upon.
But there's a lot of that influence, and so it's hard to get away from that. I mean, look at the music culture. Yeah. Look at, what's cool. Yeah. I literally have this conversation with myself, and I think actually you and I had the conversation too, because I was so frustrated. I'm like, I don't get it. How can a stranger completely love me, give me props, and be like, you're doing a great job, but people that I would expect to be in my corner, they know where to be found. And so it's almost like, that being said, there's a little bit of truth when it comes to how do we, unlock the things that are going on in social media and culture, because if that's considered cool and trendy, people want what's cool and trendy. And that doesn't seem like what we're doing is cool and trendy.
Well, how do you think those things came about? You just said it, mainstream media, different forms, like even in movies, rap videos, not just rap videos. I don't want to frown down on, because there's a lot of great rap artists that are conscious aware.
Lots of talent.
Right. So let's just go to talent.
But the message has got to be different.
The message has. So what I would do, and what I'm currently in the process of doing, exactly us being here is doing it. You have to be appealing to them. You have to be just as luring as the negativity. So you use their platform. You use their platform, and I'm
going to pull a you on you.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And if you want something to change, especially the ones that have done with negativity, and they feel like they're trapped by the curse. And they if they ask somebody to change, if they were to ask me, if I'm mirroring their actions, why are you like that? I would just simply tell them, if you change you, you've changed me. So I feel like the older ones, you can't continue to cater to ill mannerisms because there's always somebody watching. The eyes are never full of seeing, so the hands are never full of wanting. They want what they see. And if all that's being advertised is gold spinners and gold chains and gold teeth and the way you disrespect, being disrespectful, you know, that's what you're going to gravitate towards. That people think that that's the way. They normalize negativity and they gravitate towards it. What if we were just as strong, if not stronger, displaying acts of positivity and having the same amount of fun, catching the same type of highs, but you can remember it because it's naturally instilled, you know, naturally bestowed into us. What if we were able to tap in? Because guess what? We can. We have. I have since I've been out here and been an instrumental piece, allowing myself to be a vessel that God to work through. However you recognize God. Right. You know, I spread that message, you know, and I don't bump you over the head, you know, thump you over the head with no Bible or nothing like that. But just being good-natured and welcoming and you don't have to worry about me. You know what I mean? Shooting you in your face when you walk by or mean mugging you, making you feel uncomfortable. I remained approachable. Right. What if we just start mirroring how they get down, except for the positive spectrum of it? You know,
that's brilliant. I mean, you have to, because these kids, and you don't know how they live. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what they face. You know, I think even I remember, you know, just being a kid, and I think we all can relate. You know, there's a lot of just emotional, you don't know where you fit in. You don't even know who your friends are. One minute you're cool with somebody, the next minute they hate you. Like, you might be, you know, thinking that you got a relationship, and then that's, you know, off and on. I mean, there's a lot of just emotional chaos. And so when you start to implement those, like you said, those negative things and this lifestyle that you think you can have by doing all these negative things, it's not a good look. And I think if we could get together with parents and people and the community and say, hey, we gotta kind of mold this a little differently. Let's start doing something positive. The kids could come around. What would you say to, you know, because kind of going back to the men not being involved, what about the ones that just choose not to be involved?
Well, there's a reason they gravitate towards it. Choice, you're right, it's a decision. There's a reason why they're choosing to or not to do something.
Right.
When you're running, choices. When you're running from something, what does that mean? You're running to something. Why are you running from it? I think there's not a lot of people that sits groups of our youngsters down, the younger generations down, and ask them, you know, in a group, why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
Exercise the 5 whys with them. They'll start talking about what you mean. Be like, why is it hard for you to answer that question? And then they feel, okay, he tested my manhood. Let me just give him this answer. You know, start scratching the surface. I think people fear asking certain questions because the people asking the questions are partially responsible.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. You know, I've actually heard this recently where, you know, and this can be mom, dad, or whoever. I think as a parent, you know, there's no manual, right?
Right.
You don't know. You're just going with it. You're doing what you were taught, maybe what works, you know, and all these kids are different. Like, I know, I can tell you right now, all 3 of my kids are different.
Right.
So I had to kind of adjust my parenting to my kids, because if I spanked one of them, the other one was laughing when I spanked. And I'm like, hold up a minute, this isn't working. So you
can get it too.
I got to get a belt out for this one. The hand don't work. Yeah. So a lot of things, like, you have to adjust your parenting. And I think what really hurts is when you feel like you didn't do a job, you know. And I think to mirror you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, where did I fail? So I think we have to take responsibility as parents of why the kids are doing and acting out. And I think that we have to listen when they actually talk. Of course. And quit saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Right. You know, go talk to so-and-so. Like, we can't push the issues. That's where we have to be very present, because these kids are going to feel rejected. They're going to feel unloved. They're not going to want to talk to you. And then you're going to wonder why 10 years down the road they're incarcerated, or they got suicide, or they got all these other things going on in their life. And so again, but that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a very hard pill to get people to understand. Responsibility. We had a conversation about that. Right. And of course it was kind of on some different stuff, but right. It's a very hard thing to do. So when you want to make change with kids,
you have to make change with self.
You got to recognize where you got to change as a parent and do some healing and do some responsibility taking.
Ownership, accountability.
Okay. So, and that, again, that's hard. So it's not that it can't be done, but if you had some pushback from somebody, a parent's like, well, I just don't agree with what you have to say. And I just, do you think that the kid is a lost cause?
No.
Because, or we step in and kind of do like the big brother, big sister type thing, and we got to take these kids in on a different approach?
Well, depending on the scenario, sometimes I'll pull a parent aside so I don't front them off. So I'm not like overstepping their authority, and they don't feel belittled by the approach. I pull them aside and I'll be like, I'll tell them some things that I observe during the conversation. And I'll be like, what do you think about that? Use motivational interviewing skills with them. They have the answers, yet they don't feel like they have a reason, like I didn't at one point in time, to produce positive change or to finally just manifest, I know something needs to change. Oh, I could change it over here. I could change it over here, over there. They don't feel comfortable, or out of fear, they won't do it because of losing control, the parental control over that child. But that child is not going to remain a child. That child is going to someday become an adult. And if you want that child to be truly equipped, you need to listen, like you said, to that child. You need to ask those questions. You need to not be so quick to shoot them down.
Right. Or to judge their situation.
Or to exercise the hand, because when they become a man, that's all you taught them. That's all they know. Right. And believe me, they're watching. You'll see your kids emulate a lot of what you do.
Yeah,
and you'll be
it
like,
bothers me.
Yeah, but there's some good stuff, too.
I'm like, damn, that is me right there.
But you never said, oh, that's so cute. I do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
What if it was on a positive side?
Yeah, you got to recognize that stuff.
I sing around the house. My son, he just turned 2 on the 21st of this month. And I catch him. He'll just be playing and he'll just break out and sing.
So he's getting his chords ready.
Right. I don't understand every word he's saying, but what I'm saying, he's emulating something that's great.
Right. Well, and I think, like you said before, getting into leadership, getting into positions, I just signed up with the Moda Center to, get some volunteers because people always ask, how can I help? What can I do? And sometimes there's just nothing for the actual business, the cause. Right. We do a thing appointment based, we're still really getting the material out there. We're getting the guys in and we're just really working through it, especially with COVID. It's been a little restricted, but, getting in this kind of partnership and getting people to come in and volunteer, it allows like this, we're doing good things, we're participating and all this stuff. And I had to look at my schedule. Like, I'm not just going to send people to go volunteer for Elevate Him.
Right.
I got to show up. I have to be there. I have to be present because I love my business.
That's right.
I'm passionate about my business and I can't just be like, okay, everything's cool. I'm going to just be over here.
Send a torpedo.
Right. I'm going in setting that example.
Right.
Watch how I work, watch how I move, watch how I talk to people if you're just not, skilled that way. I'm hoping that the people that come forth, really have those things because those are wonderful traits, but it's like you have to, in leadership, lead.
That is correct.
So, I mean, if you have, and I think that's really great if we can get leaders, if we can get mentors, if we can, and whatever happened to Big Brother, I think I've asked that before, whatever happened to Big Brother's Club? Wasn't it like a real thing? You can get partnered up with the kid. I mean,
I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a funding thing or it was a fad, seen and viewed as a fad and just phased out. I'm not sure, but I know that we have things that are in place right now that mock that. Nobody gives them the props. I have to give it to them, There's a lot of people that call me Big Bro all the time, or now Pops because I'm getting on up there.
Right. Have grandbabies soon.
Yeah, what happened to Bro? What happened?
Right.
But they call me Pops or Big Bro or Unc. You know what I mean? All my friends' and their friends, and I know some of their parents, and we kick it. I think that if people are listening, if they take the time to listen. first they have to be real with themselves, just like you said. It'll help them be a better listener. Slow to speak, quick to listen.
Right.
So you can learn, I'll give you a little story. We'll get a little scenario. So back in the days, it was hard for me to, take people's advice because I had been misguided for so long. I was like, Then someone came along, and I was like, oh, maybe I can, listen, because they were talking sense. Everybody was gravitating towards them, but they took a special interest in me. One of my mentors, Rob Richardson, and I name drop because he's still prevalent in my life to this day.
You remember him.
Yeah, I
People remember how you made them feel.
That's right. And I was knee deep in my addiction of gangbanging.
Okay.
The cold thing about it is he would always talk to me in metaphors. And so did my biological father. So I wound up doing the same, being metaphorically speaking, and then just, they were like, "Dang, you tied that together nicely.
Right.
It makes sense." So what I'm saying is it's always somebody watching and listening and waiting for their turn to do their part if they feel comfortable. So I think a platform to invite people to have these open discussions without worrying about bullets coming through the walls or things of that nature is extremely important. I think that
how many more kids do we have to lose for leaders to lead or people to say, okay, I used to be an old OG, been there, done that. I can't see this no more.
I don't even I think it's
or whatever, like whatever goes on in someone's head when they have this come up, like shouldn't people be thinking, what can I do? I think that's where that's where I had to start with my thing. It wasn't like, oh, I lost my brother. I need to, I'll put something together in his memory and, I'm going to heal. Right. It wasn't like that nonchalant to me.
Right.
It was like, what impact can I make? Because I know he had to feel some type of way to make that big of a decision. He took his life. He took himself from me, his kids. That is huge.
That is real huge.
To make that step. Okay. And so for me, I was like, how many other men are suffering in silence? How many other men are struggling with confidence? How many other men, like I said, let's go down this list, who are dealing with drugs and alcohol, who are dealing with maybe a woman in their life that is refusing and just being a damn headache and won't let him be what he can be. When you start having people restrict you, you only have two choices. You're either going to fight or you're going to dip.
Especially if you have other people to answer to, like a warden, like a PO, the cool thing about it is nobody else has to. But the reality of it, they will, because not everybody is open to. I just think there comes a time where some of the older individuals, need to realize where they need growth, to be able to be more of an asset. And what I mean by that, you got a lot of, little children banging in grown men's bodies. You know what I mean? They're 40 years old, but arrested development may have set in maybe when they were 14, 16 or somewhere around there when they got stole off the streets from making bad decisions because they didn't have good examples.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, you said it earlier, there's no one size fit all. There's no one size. You have to be fluent. You have to be fluent in everybody's language.
Well, it's just like our drink right here.
Right.
It's molding. Our liquid is molding to the mold. What's going on? What it's keeping it in.
Right.
We have to be more in tune with that stuff because if this had a hole in it, it makes a damn mess. It's all over the place. We can't catch it fast enough.
Right.
It's done.
Right.
And then it gets through the cracks, and then who knows what happens. And so we got to try to. I don't want to Band-Aid anything though.
Right.
People like to do Band-Aids. People like to just have some temporary fix and then it's all
fast.
good.
It's fast.
It's right now.
And it's out my face. Let somebody else deal with you.
Right.
I get that part too.
But the facts are with these situations, these stats, these kids, everything that, comes along, like you said, you got these little boys. I mean, I had a list of them when I was approaching a list for, I think it might have been OIA, because I want to try to do some partnering with them. We had some meetings and whatnot. So again, COVID, but we had moved along some stuff, and it was crazy. The list that I had printed out, there was not one of them that was 18. And these 15-year-olds were looking at 30 years.
The wave of the future.
And so when you think about, institutionalizing, and you don't have certain skills to begin with.
That's correct.
And then you go into an institution, which really isn't going to give you much. You're angry. You still got a lot of shit to deal with. You got all these things going on. You're restricted. You're restricted. You got to do that. I mean, like now you're told, like you said, what to do. Now there's some things that you can't do, and you don't like that. You don't like that authority. But then you get out, if you do, and you have a society that's like, oh, hey.
You never experienced as a full
We don't know what
adult.
you're doing. So where's the mental capacity and all of that?
So there's no compassion for one when you're confined, when you're in confinement. If you don't have a strong mind, some type of foundation to run off of, it's just hard to get that once you go in as a child and come out as an adult, It's physically, it's hard to get that. And that's why you have people coming out looking at these little young ladies like they're older because Arrested Development, they went in when they was 15. So now they come out and they look at somebody that's 15. Oh man, not everybody's like that,
right.
But that's why.
But you can see how that could be.
Yeah, contributes to things of that nature.
Some of those natures, yeah.
I just think that, if we're fluent in one another's language, which means consistently communicating with the young and the old and bringing them together and having these type of topics of discussion, reinstilling the values, the morals, things of that nature. Your neighbor, if he's an elder, go cut the yard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Go cut the yard for him. We talked about programs, starting that back up, just going around to our elderly individuals' houses, especially that have been affected by the gentrification, and just ask them, you want your yard cut? Free of money, should I say, but compensated with morals and good deeds, giving it, restoring the values back into a community, how it used to be ran. I could go to school and all the way down the block, people be like, that was before your time. No, it wasn't. All the way down the block, I knew almost everybody, every child, every parent, because we played. We didn't just play on our phones or
definitely
Atari. And I'm not frowning down on those that do because, if you're a killer, I'd rather have you, playing on your phone or something. Keep yourself occupied,
Right.
But if you're wanting to grow and make a difference, sometimes if it isn't broke, it doesn't need fixing. Let's go revisit some of what we used to do.
Hey, what's up? It's Nicole Brewster, also known as Coco. Thank you for tapping into the Elevate Him podcast. Until next time.